Welcome everyone to Reality Realness with three S's. We're back. I'm Nick. I'm here with my co-host Lindsay
Cheers.
and her wine. Apparently, nice. I didn't get a beer, and we're covering Big Brother Cheesecake 5 All-Stars. So again, if you aren't already doing so, like and follow and subscribe and all those things so you can keep up to date. And yeah, let's get into it. So as you can see, Brazil's not here. She didn't want to come on the show at this time, and we can get into that in a little bit. But we just want to kind of recap the whole week and talk about what happened.
Yeah, and it was a big week. So I guess we'll start with the HOH. It was Space Swap.
Yeah, the Morphe one, which I like. That's always such a good competition.
Is that like a regular one?
Yeah, they do it. They do it on like the American show. I don't know if they've done it on Canada. I should know this, but yeah. Normally, with this competition, it's sometimes like three sections, or they'll just like blend them into an alien, or they'll do something really weird. And it's not always that you're gonna only use each house guest's feature once in one way. So I think because I'm pretty sure Andrew did it that way, it gave a bit of predictability. But yeah,
maybe help make it slightly easier. I don't know. I tried to play along. I failed miserably. Did you?
I think I was playing along, but I also think the segment on the show went by really quickly, where like he showed it for a bit, and then he's like, and this, and he gave the answers real quick. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be here for information and to play along, as opposed to really like trying to compete in it. But it was their picture on the wall, or like their season picture. So if you studied those enough, and I mean you'll see them in the background, it's clear like Nicole's eyes, or like I recognize Chanel's mouth from her smile, like you can see.
Yeah,
and Rai Rai's eyes, like of course, like things like that.
Yeah. Did Andrew give them warning? I can't remember now. If did he give them warning about what the competition was going to be, or did the rules come out and then immediately jump into the game?
I mean, the way that it was portrayed on the video, it was kind of just like I told them all what it was. They all individually did it, and then we went through the answers, and whoever did the best on kind of like the test. Whereas in the show, what they'll do is you get a solo timed event, and then you have to push buttons, and it'll either ding 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 for like to go to the next one, or it'll buzz you wrong, and you have to just keep trying until you've gone through all 5 mix-ups or whatever there are. So this was a bit of a different format, but yeah, everyone submitted their answers. The scores were pretty good, I think. Everyone got at least one wrong, I remember him saying. But yeah, I think if with enough time, it should have been relatively easy, but people performed pretty well in the end.
Yeah, and I guess time is always a factor anyway, even if he didn't time it, because it's always whoever submits first if you end up in a tiebreaker, right?
Mm-hmm. Just like with anything. So it comes down to Curtis, JoJo, and Jonathan, and they're going through the answers. There was some kerfuffle something with like Curtis answering incorrectly, but Andrew thought it was correct, so it went to Curtis. But then a bit of a Steve Harvey moment kind of thing.
How did Andrew find out that it wasn't Curtis? Do we know that?
I think they all kind of just said like, "Hey, that's actually the wrong nose," because he said cat and it was Chantel's nose or something like that. Okay. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, that must have been hard for him to deal with. But eventually we got to the right winner, and JoJo wins the competition. He's the most perceptive of everyone's faces, so good for him.
Yes, congratulations. And what an HOH it was.
Yeah.
So JoJo's moms were Curtis and Brazil to start. Mm-hmm. Any surprises?
A little bit surprised in a way that I think that they've all been working together throughout the game, and it's like, okay, well, there's still Rhonda, who's outside of the alliance, potentially of this big mega alliance that we've been alluding to.
Sorry, Rhonda wasn't allowed to be nominated, don't forget.
Oh, right, of course, yes. Still, so yes, then I was like, okay, well, I don't think he'll nominate Jonathan or Chantel. So yeah, then it made sense. Brazil, Curtis, power duo, super strong in the game, and he put them both up.
Yeah.
So
the only thing, of course, that we obviously discovered later is the unfortunate part that you're nominating someone that could potentially come back into the game. So
yeah, this person that you evict, it looking at the start of the week when I heard like, oh man, JoJo win, okay, he can maybe do something here. I'm like, well, the person he wants out or evict is 50% chance of coming back in the game. So it's a bit of a roll of the dice on that one, but that's how it's been all season long. There's been Redemple Temples at every week that each HOH has to think about. So it's kind of like the season long twist that way. So navigate the game, I guess. So yeah, the veto gets played again. That one was really fun to watch. The live Zoom call.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. Yeah, Brazil's a bit.
The one thing was Brazil wasn't able to play, so that
was really
sucks. I don't know the full reason behind it. Do you?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
no, I don't know why she wasn't able to, but it was a last minute thing because like Andrew wanted to make sure that he had a time that it worked for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I think the one questionable thing that I thought of was how Brazil was allowed to pick a juror to play, and she picked Chad. Sure, whatever. Maybe just because it was like an easy person not gonna win.
Yeah,
so maybe one of her.
No, I don't think that she was actually allowed to pick a juror. I think that she asked if she could pick Chad, and Andrew said, I wouldn't normally allow you to pick a juror, but if everyone else is okay with it, then sure.
Yeah, this is my point here. I don't think she should have been allowed to pick someone on jury to stand in. And even last season in like one of the early videos, I forget who, but someone picked someone else as a stand-in. It's like, if you're picked to play and you don't show up, that's just basically like you showed up to the competition, you sat down and you didn't do anything. Like that's how I think. Yeah. If you were picked, you can't defer because you can kind of game the system a little bit that way. I'm not saying anyone has in the past, but I'm saying the potential is there. That I think it's just if you can't show up, you don't show up. And
yeah, although we did benefit from it the last season because I had you play in a veto for me.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
about that.
I was the one person sitting out because I just had the luck of not getting picked, and you're like, "Oh, you can play Nick." I was like, "All right," but yeah, so like that, it was a bit of and it's happened. It's already happened, I think, a couple other times this season too, where I think Nicole couldn't play one time, and I get it. I think Andrew just wants to please everyone and make sure everyone's not feeling burnt by it. But
I think sometimes his games are specifically made for the 6 people. So if you can't show up, then it kind of screws up his.
That's fair. That's fair too. So that was just my one thought on that, the pick kind of thing and how it went down. But
I enjoyed on the video that people actually did talk this time.
Yes, and especially towards the end when. Even Andrew said he's like, man, season 2 is always good for something like talking about season 2 and how it's better, but he's like, this one's up there, and I think just watching that competition was very fun. Just seeing all the bickering and the little jabs and the jokes, like it was good. It was a highlight of the season for sure.
I'm trying to remember now the actual competition though. Like I know it was OTAV. I'm trying to remember what went on. Refresh my memory, Nick.
It's just on facts of the season, I believe. But I didn't study the video. It's hard to remember every question and all those kinds of things. But they had to buzz in, and the first person to buzz in with the fact would be safe. But if you buzzed in wrong, unlike I think last year, where if you just copied the leader, you were safe, and he wanted to change it up that you still had to have a right answer or you got a strike. And if you got 2 strikes, then you were out. So you had to have the right answer, and if you were wrong, it was a strike, and if you were last with the right answer, it was also a strike. So there was multiple ways to get strikes, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Oh, right. And you had to have 3 strikes. Okay.
There's only 2 strikes, just to get a little bit of a lifeline kind of thing. But yeah.
Okay.
People started dropping, and it ended before all the questions were asked, I believe.
Yeah, because I think he did the last question of just like this would have been. But anyway, so Curtis won that, which was awesome for him because he got to take himself down.
Yeah. I think it was maybe a do or die situation for him too. He's been on the block a lot this season. I don't know how much people want him in the game because he's been on there a lot.
I've kind of wondered that, or is it more that he's an easy pawn because people know that he's liked?
It could be, but yeah, I think Oh, sorry. I think if you're getting nominated that much, there is the one point. It's like CJ last season, or just the perpetual pawn. But it's also, it could be targeting him. So either way, he's not going anywhere this week. So good job on winning that veto. Whether it was crucial or not, you're safe. So good job.
Yeah, so he took himself down, and Nicole got put up.
Mm-hmm. Which can have been good for Brazil's hope, or her.
Luck.
What's the word I'm trying to say? That must have sucked for Brazil to see that her ally goes up on the block beside her. She's arguably a bigger target than Nicole. Yeah. Nicole survived against Chantel weeks before. I think against Brazil it was somewhat of a tasty little opportunity to get rid of a winner, right? Who's proven to be good at the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So then, I mean, it's a shame we don't have Brazil here, because like I'd love to ask like how much wheeling and dealing was there around the coup. One of them had to come down. We know they're working together. How was that decision made by Rhonda? Like, was that based on them like asking for mercy, or was it like her decision completely?
Or yeah, like if Rhonda had, basically what Rhonda's decision making behind taking down A or B that way. But in the end, she takes down Nicole.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all done really quickly in the ceremony, but I'm sure there were discussions at some point behind the scenes about it.
There had to have been, right? I'm just curious to know where the pressure points were, and like how the decision to take Nicole over Brazil was. I feel like they're all pretty much friends at this point, right? Like that's the feel I get from the videos.
So now with the final two on the block of Rhonda and Brazil, again, I still think Brazil's the more appealing target to maybe take out.
Yeah.
And
but so do you still feel the same way with your comment about like you don't have to take down the person who has a poo brown because you know that they're going to be up again?
I mean, it's not that it's guaranteed like, oh, they'll be up, so they'll be the one to go out the door in front of you, but it's still just like one more chance to avoid that seat. Because if you're not in, if it's basically only one seat, you have like a 1 in 6 chance of not being on the block, whereas you could have a 1 in 3 chance of being on the block if it was still two open seats available. So it gets. I would keep the poo holder in the game for sure. Sorry, what?
I said it just didn't work well for Brazil this time. That's all.
Yeah. But I don't know if she would have reached out to Rhonda to be like, use it over me over Nicole. I don't know if she would have tried to campaign against Nicole. I know they're really close friends in real life, so I think it was maybe just like, hey, one of us is coming down. It's up to Rhonda. Do you want to just maybe chill and let her make the decision? So, but hey, I don't know if anyone said anything behind. We'll find out in time, I'm sure.
I'm sure we will. That's the part that does talk about playing with friends, though. Like, I was up in the block on the double with Megan, and I'm like, I can't campaign against her. Like, I'd love to mock my for it. Like, I understand the desire to like save your friend. Make it hurt.
Yeah.
All right, so Brazil was evicted.
Well, the interesting thing is that it comes down to a 2-2. So the first tie of the season. I don't know. I don't remember the last tie in Cheesecake. Do we even have it? Yeah, probably later on in the seasons. But yeah, like later on, it's more likely to get a tie. But
I mean, I know we had the option for a tie when it was Curtis and Ryan. We weren't 100% convinced of, I think it was CJ's vote.
How CJ was going to vote, yeah.
And so we just decided, like, no, make sure.
I was like, she hates them both. How's she going to vote? Oh, how do we play this?
I don't like. Do you think that the tie was intentional?
The tie, I think, was out of necessity if they were targeting Brazil. Because I don't think you could get Nicole or Curtis to turn on and vote out Brazil next to anyone in the game. So that explains the 2 votes for Rhonda. And then I think it comes down to Nicole and to Chantel and Jonathan saying, okay, do we want Rhonda or Brazil gone? Because they had the power to decide in that moment. And whether they were more deals or alliances with one or the other, I think it's just getting to the point where it's like, okay, who's more likely to win, or who's better at pleading their case in the end, or there's so many factors you start thinking about as opposed to just alliance. Oh, they're in my alliance. if you're an alliance of 6 and you're at top 7, that's you're okay. It's time now. Like, so I think they just saw, like I said, the opportunity, and then they took the chance. And I don't think in the inverse, I don't think anyone. Also, the Sapphire. Yeah, that makes sense. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Brazil did have the Sapphire from last time as well, which is essentially like you
get to veto a veto, right?
You can choose if someone uses the veto the way you like it or don't like it, and just change it. So it doesn't work on it as against a nominee, which is fair. If it did, that would be way too powerful.
Yeah, she couldn't have used it this week to save herself over Curtis.
Yeah. So she couldn't have basically prevented Curtis from saving himself, so then they both stay on the block, I think. Like, she couldn't have done that. But if someone tried to save Curtis with the veto, had Curtis not won it, she could have said, no, we're leaving it the same, kind of thing. Yeah. So that is powerful, especially when you're getting down to less people. So I think that piled up with the fact that she's won before and she's very competent in the game was just a respectful, got to make this a tie, and then JoJo makes the ultimate decision.
Yeah. That must have been an interesting week for JoJo. I mean, because that is really showing your hand, right? Like,
let me throw everyone in the house on the block and then vote one of them out single-handedly almost. Yeah. That's why it's kind of like a bad timing to win HOH, but don't say no to safety for a week, because it could have been you had you thrown it. It could have been you as the one person gone, right?
So actually, I'm pretty sure that this was last week and not this week, but if not, I'm sorry for jumping the gun. But Andrew had made a comment about never throwing a competition.
He said that again this week, I know, about how that's just not in him, because he was comparing himself to Eitan, and how Eitan is competent and knows he can win certain things when they're more controllable or less luck-based, but he also actively did throw things because he knew, much like some people say, like, if you know everyone ahead of you on deck to win is not going to put you up, maybe just like, A, you get to play next week, B, you don't have to make any tough decisions, and C, you're probably still safe, right?
Well, I mean, my thought was kind of, if you know that it's someone that's in your camp, and yes, like, it gives you the chance to win next week as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it also gives you that opportunity to show that you're loyal to someone. That was where I was like, I don't know if I 100% agree, but I also see Andrew's point that a lot of throwing competitions does seem to then change the entire outcome of games.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's kind of like a difference between throwing it and like passing it off to the person. Like, either of you could win, and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna allow my teammate to win. If that makes sense. Rather than,
I mean, that's not so much throwing. That's maybe a strategic alliance decision. But I think back to that, like, the main example of this is when it was down to Kat or Eitan, and Eitan said he was kind of working with everyone, but giving it to Kat, I think Kat's targets were pretty clear, and whether Eitan knew that or not, I don't really know. But it couldn't have looked like a very strong vote of confidence in the alliance that he had with Brazil and Chantel, among others, to say, like, I'm just fine with your potential enemy having HOH instead of me, who I'm apparently good with, right? You're good with me, right? I'm just not going to protect you, right? It doesn't build on the alliance.
That was definitely throwing. Versus, like, if you or I, or like Brazil in our season, had said, like, I really want this, then
that's not throwing. That's shuffling it around, being like, okay, who do we want it this time? Who makes most sense? Okay, fine. But
who's in the most danger?
The other thing, the other reason, like, to say, especially for this season, of why not to throw a competition is that you get the All-Star dollars, which could save you a week down the road, 2 weeks down the road, whenever. So there is that extra thing. And I don't know how, I wasn't keeping track of people's All-Star dollars, but A10 wouldn't have had any, except for, like, the Redemple Temple win.
Yeah, well, I wasn't paying any attention to them until, and again, I'm sorry, I don't remember which week this was talked about in, but
it's a lot of games.
Andrew finally brought up Rainbow Room and talked about, like, the fact that the dollars got shifted. And I was like,
oh, that was like a couple days ago. That was very recently, yeah.
But, like, when he started to list out the number of, like, what people had, I'm like, yeah, that's something that I guess when you're in the room you should be paying attention to.
Yeah. Especially since, like, if like he said, well, I don't want to get ahead, but, like, some of the advantages can help mitigate luck then in some of the competitions, then you want those things because it just gives you more of an edge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Brazil joins Aton on Redemple Temple. I mean, anyone watching who's keeping up knows what happens next, but we're gonna save that for when we talk to
next week.
yeah. But yeah, let's
talk about.
what would you have asked Brazil had she been on? Because I'm sure she'll still watch it, and then we can think for brainstorming.
Oh, geez, you're putting me on the spot now. What would I have asked Brazil? I mean, first I would ask her, what happened this week? How did you end up?
What happened, Brazil? Yeah.
I mean, I was curious about the Rhonda having to go up situation, so I've already said
yeah.
I always love the question of like what's the thing that you regret. And I've also really liked the question of, because this season seems to have a lot of lies and half truths, what's the biggest lie that you told to share it?
Yeah.
Those are probably the bigger ones, like the more broad questions versus, I don't know, I'm sure I'd have more specific ones if she was here and we were kind of bouncing off each other.
But, yeah, for sure they come out. Maybe how the two seasons compared as far as like which one was harder to play in and which one was required more from.
Oh, I actually
from you mentally
for you.
Oh yeah.
I think I can share it.
Did she say this one was 10 times harder?
She said this one was a lot more difficult because of playing with friends. So like,
yeah,
there's an emotional aspect to it.
That one I could see because I think everyone left in the game, besides maybe Rhonda, have interacted in some way outside of the game between seasons and just like from being connected through podcasts and whatever. So yeah, I get that. I wouldn't want to be up against in the house right now because I have at least some friendship with everyone except I have never met Rhonda, but with everyone else, and it would be tricky.
Yeah, like I mean, I think she was vilified a lot more in our season. And this isn't coming from Brazil now. This is coming from me. I think she was vilified in our season, but like, yeah, there's that emotional connection in this season because if people you don't know are calling you a villain, you're just like, okay, sure, screw you.
Yeah, I think Brazil was really connected well in our season since the start with pre-game alliances, a big alliance that absorbed like two kind of alliances. Then when we broke off and we worked with and she just was always very good at navigating the game, but it's because people always were ready to like turn, and there were little kind of like backstabs throughout the whole season where we rearranged the alliance. I think in this season it's been super alliance pretty much the whole way through with people who thought they were in it who weren't, but now we're at super alliance time and there's no other way. So like I think that's literally just it, is that Rhonda's looking like a nice free agent. Brazil, it's kind of a couple of trios and Rhonda, and why not take a stab before they take a stab, right? So it is. I think it would seem personal, and it might explain the hurt to come on the show. But I'm sure we'll talk to Brazil at some point. And hopefully,
Phil, if you are watching, like you're welcome at any point. Same with Chad. I doubt he's watching, but if you are, we'd still love to have you and hear what happened. From your perspective.
Yeah, just like talking to people. It's a pandemic. I don't see many people. Right? I know you said this is like you look forward to it because it's like, oh, good interaction. Good. I'm not so cooped up.
Oh, I'm always so excited for this, just for the interaction. But tomorrow I get to go outside again, people. Very exciting news. That's non-game at all.
I'm excited.
So we will talk about the Redemple Temple duel between Brazil and Aton next week, because that also ties in, of course, everyone that's watching this probably already knows, to the
It's integral to next week and how it's starting to unfold, so we'll leave it for then.
Yeah.
But so any final thoughts on the week? Sorry, what'd you say?
I said, so it's a shorter episode this week, but unless you have any final thoughts.
No, I think it was an emotional week in that it's kind of like coming to a head, and it's depended kind of the HOH did dictate a lot about who that person sitting next to Rhonda was. And I think if it was in the other trio, it could have easily been one of them gone. And I think Rhonda was maybe sitting pretty either way. But yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, it was emotional because it's kind of the time. Okay, well, do we take the shot? Do we not? I think we're dumb if we don't, and it could seem more personal or look more personal than it really is. And I think anyone else, like Jonathan, Chantel, or JoJo, being the one that was evicted this week from the other trio winning, I think they would have been like the same kind of feeling of upset. Like it sucks because it's now your alliance is like turning on each other. So
yeah. Question: how long do you think it'll take before trios start turning on each other? Because that's going to have to happen at some point too.
Oh, I imagine the groundwork is already in place for that. I don't know what that's going to shake loose with, but like I said, I think Ronda's a powerful free agent. I think everyone should be talking to her in some way. I don't think it's six versus one. Six versus one doesn't get you any farther. I think people are going to be talking to her, and I think Ronda, especially if she can win a couple competitions, has a real shot of proving to the people that she wants to prove to that she wants to work with them. And yeah, there's a lot of game left. I think it's still going to be really good.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it? 28 days or something like that left. So
we're on 74, and I think it was 126. But that's, yeah, I think it's 26. Yeah, and there's still an unrevealed twist. I mean, we'll talk about that next time, but I have no idea. I've been thinking.
I've been thinking about it. I mean, I obviously don't know what kind of standard twists are, but like at this point in the game, what could happen that would that wouldn't change the outcome of the game? Because I know Andrew doesn't like that.
Yeah, and the fact that it comes up right near the end, but it's dramatic, but it wouldn't have changed any winners over past seasons. But it's still secret, so it's a late game secret kind of like thing that's going to show up on the Houseguests, which he doesn't like. But because I think he mentioned there is a late game or there is a secret twist that will happen, he's kind of done like I told you about it. I say all twists up front, but like still being super vague. So I think it satisfies his "you knew it was coming" kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we don't know any specifics. And I actually do hope it's a huge doozy and it shakes them up because this is All-Stars. I want to see people adapt and not just rely on comp wins to play out the rest of the game. I want something to like completely shatter the game and see what happens. So, but that's just me as a viewer, right? If I was in there, I'd be like, "Shut up, Nick. That's the worst idea."
I'd love to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Nice short video for you this week. Once again, we are Reality Realness. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the wonderful things that keep this in business.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye.